Hello everyone and welcome to today's live on Sampurna Ahara. My name is Shyamala.
I'm Dr. Achyuthan, and we're the co-founders of nutritionscience.in and sampurnahara.com.
In today's live, we'll be talking about something that we get asked very often, that is myths about diabetes. There are several myths when it comes to type 2 diabetes, and today we'll be addressing three of the most common myths, and Dr. Achyuthan will be giving us the facts that will help you and your family manage and treat diabetes in a much more effective way.
If you're diabetic today, you would have heard something from your doctor, you would have heard something from your relatives, from your friends, something from the internet, something from newspapers. There's so much of information and misinformation out there, It can be quite confusing, not knowing what to do, not knowing can you treat it, can you manage it, can you reverse it. So today we're going to be talking about some of these and exploring the science of diabetes reversal. So if you have diabetes or some of your family members have it, I hope this video is useful for you.
Yes. So without any further ado, let's get started. The first myth, and this is one of the most common ones that we get asked all the time, is diabetes should avoid fruits. There is a myth, and there is a lot of misinformation around this. Many of them feel that if you have diabetes, eating fruits will result in a blood sugar spike because of the sugar in the fruit itself. So many of the diabetes, including people I know in my own family, have completely avoided fruits for years after diagnosis. Even people who like eating fruits and want to eat fruits are so afraid to eat fruits because they're so afraid that their diabetes is going to worsen. Now, what are the facts? What does the science say about eating fruits when you're diabetic?
Sure. You can imagine why this would be something that seems logical, right? Because fruits are sweet, anything sweet has sugar, diabetics have high sugar, so don't eat fruits. The problem is it's not just the sweetness that the fruits have, they have a lot of other nutrition in them. And that's what makes the difference. So if you eat a spoon of sugar, yes, your sugar levels might spike up. If you eat gulab jamun or Mysore pak or sweet, then if it's made from sugar or made with even with jaggery or even with honey, your sugar levels might spike up. But with fruits, that's not the case. In fact, when you eat fruits, your sugar levels don't spike up as much as even say eating white rice because of the fiber content of fruits, because of the fructose content of fruits, and because of so many phytonutrients that are there in fruits that protect your body from the negative effects of any glucose that it contains. So when scientists researched this, they studied diabetics and they told half of them, you eat maximum two fruits in a day or two pieces of fruit in a day, don't eat more than that. And to the other half, they said you eat minimum at least two pieces of fruit, then you can eat as much as you like. They found that there's actually no difference. If the people who avoided fruits, they don't have any better sugar levels than the people who didn't avoid fruits. So a lot of research studies like this have found that we should not be restricting fruits if you're diabetic, and you should be consuming them. And especially because of all of the other nutrition that the fruits have, which give you a protective benefit from so many other diseases, which are complications related to diabetes. So, if you're diabetic and you've been avoiding fruit, when you reintroduce it to your diet, do it slowly, do it step by step. It's the same thing as eating, let's say, if you're eating ragi or if you're eating chapati or brown rice, right? Those contain starch as well, but all of them are healthy because they are whole plant foods. So the same way as eating brown rice, introduce fruits also into your meals. We recommend starting your meal with fruits. So when you start your meal, eat one fruit and then just continue with the rest of your meal. See what happens, test your sugar levels and find out what is the effect of this on your sugar levels. A majority of people who have signed up for our nutrition science masterclass and who take our Sampurnahara meals find that the sugar levels actually start reducing when they do this. Our every Sampurnahara meal that's meant for a diabetes diet, for diabetes prevention and potentially reversing it, has 1 cup of fruits in it. There's a box of fruits, there's a box of vegetable salad, And then there are all the other meal dishes, whether it's roti or rice or idli, dosa with your sambar, chutney or dal or palyas or sabji, all those dishes come second. The fruits and the vegetable dishes come first. So, feel free to try this out at home, or you can subscribe to a meal from Sampurna Ahar and practically experience it. But make sure to test your sugar levels. And if you have any questions about this, consult with your doctor or with your nutritionist before making these changes. I hope that helps you to bust that myth. Now let's move on to the second myth of diabetes.
So the second myth is diabetics should avoid carbs. Now this is something that has low carb diets have become very prevalent in today's world, not only with people among people who have diabetes, but also the general population. Everyone is recommended to cut carbs, to go low on carbs, and we know that research has indicated that this may not be healthy for us. What about diabetics? Is there a merit in saying that diabetics should avoid carbs completely, or should cut them down to below a certain amount every day? So what is the science behind that?
Sure. So this is the problem with the reductionist approach to nutrition. Like Dr. Colin Campbell says in his China study and on his e-cornell plant-based nutrition course, when you have a reductionist approach, that paradigm of nutrition makes you lose out on a lot of the bigger picture. So when you talk about carbs, so even strawberries have carbs, blueberries have carbs, acai berry has carbs, brown rice, ragi, red rice, black rice, millets, whole wheat, oats, all of these have carbs in it. Even isabgol, which is psyllium husk, that fiber, that's a carbohydrate. And when you want to cut out all carbs from your diet, that's fruits, grains, and even many dals, pulses, and legumes going out of your diet, that's, now it sounds like something huge. But when you think of carbs as just that granulated white sugar, then it sounds like a good idea, right? The reason for this confusion is because all these foods, when you categorize them together as carbs, that's the problem. That doesn't really work. Instead, if you look at the whole food, you look at the whole package, then you have a much deeper understanding of nutrition. It's not just the carbs, but everything that's included in that food. It's whole grains, it's fruits, it's vegetables, it's dals. It's a food-based approach rather than a reductionist nutrition-based approach. So that holistic approach gives you a much better solution. And researchers also found that, yes, when you cut out sugar from your diet and any sugar or carbohydrate containing foods, yes, your blood sugar level will go down. I mean, it's natural. If you're not eating glucose, it's not there in the bloodstream, right? So when you take a blood test, your sugar level is going to be normal or low. But the problem is that's only a symptom of diabetes. So your problem is not solved. The problem is still there. So the root cause of diabetes, which is insulin resistance, actually gets worse when you go on a low carbohydrate diet, especially if it contains animal products in it. So not just the diabetes itself, but even your risk of atherosclerosis and an earlier death, all of those risks also increase when you go on a low carbohydrate diet based on animal foods, or a ketogenic diet, especially if it's based on animal foods. So rather than going on a low carbohydrate diet, researchers found that when you adopt a whole food plant-based diet, including carbohydrates and all of the other fantastic nutrients it has, like phytonutrients, phytochemicals, antioxidants, fiber, and in its whole packaged form, the way it grows in nature, then that gives you much better results. Over time, your sugar levels come down, and not just that, your insulin resistance actually reduces. Even your your pancreatic function, the number of beta cells that produce insulin, only when those cells start dying and the number of remaining cells reduces below 50%, that's usually when diabetes is first diagnosed. So that first blood test when your sugar level is high, that means half your beta cells may already be dead, right? But when you adopt a healthier diet and lifestyle, within 2 years, your pancreatic function can return almost back to maximum levels, which is fantastic. Something that we thought was impossible. but was made possible with a healthy enough lifestyle. So the diabetics should avoid carbs is a myth. Diabetics should avoid unhealthy food sources of carbohydrates is true, but and also it's true that you need to avoid unhealthy sources of any foods, not just carbohydrates. So when you shift your lens from nutrient-centric to a holistic food-centric perspective, that gives you a lot of clarity here.
Wonderful. I think that's how the diabetes diet at Sampurna Ahara is designed, right? So it is designed with all of these various food groups that are necessary for great health to help you potentially even reverse diabetes. So you can check it out on our website, sampurnahara.com, where you can subscribe to meals that will be delivered to your doorstep every day that are diabetic friendly and have all the elements of a healthy diet that Dr. Achyuthan just spoke about. And can you give us, like, do you have people who with diabetes who are taking meals from us at Sampurna Ahara?
Sure, absolutely. So we had last week one call from a person who has diabetes for over 10 years. Their sugar levels was consistently about 170 after food. But they eat one meal from Sampurna Ahara with a single meal. Their postprandial sugar, the sugar level after food, was just 140 milligrams per deciliter. 140 is the upper end of normal. And he was so happy, so surprised by it. He actually called us and said, "Hey, my sugar levels reduced in just one meal. That's fantastic. I'm going to continue eating like this for a long, long time." Especially, the reason we started this, the diabetic diet delivery, is because we wanted to make it easy for people to reverse diabetes. It shouldn't be so hard. When you have when you need treatment for an infection or an emergency or an accident, all you need to do is get to a hospital and they will take care of you completely, right? But when you want to prevent diabetes, it feels like it's so difficult to do it. That shouldn't be the case. We wanted to make it easier to prevent disease, to reverse disease wherever it's possible, and to achieve an optimal health. That's why we created the diabetes diet that helps you to bring your sugar levels down, improve insulin sensitivity, reduce insulin resistance, improve pancreatic function, potentially even reverse diabetes. There have been some people who have even been able to stop their diabetes medications after shifting to a Sampurna Ahara diet. So that's fantastic, almost unbelievable each time it happens. But those are the happiest stories that inspire us to keep going in our journey.
Amazing. So moving on to the last myth of today, diabetes is an age-related disease. This is something that is a very strongly held belief among a lot of people, especially Indians. It's a little surprising also because today we are seeing younger and younger people developing type 2 diabetes. So we have people in their 20s, people in their 30s, non-smokers who are developing diabetes, people who are even within their weight range who are developing diabetes. So, where does this myth come from that diabetes is an age-related disease, and what is the fact?
Sure. So you think of like I get patients who say, "Doctor, my parents have diabetes. It's only a matter of time until I also develop it. Is there something I can do to prevent that? I don't want to get diabetes." And I tell them, look, if your entire family is diabetic, your parents, your brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, even if all of them have type 2 diabetes, it's still not 100% certainty that you're going to develop it, because diabetes is not a genetic disease. Diabetes is a lifestyle disease. The name itself gives it away. A lifestyle disease is one that comes because of an unhealthy lifestyle. So if you change that, if you remove the root cause for diabetes, then the body has the fantastic ability to heal itself. The body can reverse many of its health issues to a significant extent and sometimes even completely. And If you don't yet have diabetes, you can actually prevent it. Diabetes is not hard encoded in your genes. Diabetes is kind of suggested by your genes when you go on an unhealthy lifestyle, then it starts playing up. But even if you do have the genes that predispose you to diabetes, as long as you're living a healthy lifestyle, you need not develop it, and you may not develop it as well. So diabetes is not a a death sentence. It's not a surefire. I'm definitely going to get diabetic when I grow older, and we can't use that excuse anymore because we now know that diabetes, whether we develop it or not, is mostly within our control. It's in our hands. We can decide whether we fall sick or stay healthy, and that decision is happening next when you eat your next meal. What you eat for your lunch or dinner or breakfast or your snacks, what you eat every day may be the most important decision that decides whether or not you develop diabetes, and maybe even whether or not you reverse it if you already have it.
Wonderful. I think there's just so much information that you've given in this video, which are busting all these myths, and it's the need of the hour, given that diabetes is a growing concern in India, and reports suggest that over half of all Indians may have diabetes at some point in their lives, which is quite alarming. All of us should be informed of what diabetes is, why we get it, and what we can do about it, especially given that we can actually do something about it. It's not as if, it's completely out of our hands as well. Uh, Head over to sampurnahara.com if you or someone you know is diabetic and you are looking to manage it in an effective way. Our meals, our diabetic meals, are designed to help you achieve a balanced nutrition, making sure that you're having all food groups, making sure that you're having every single macro and micronutrient that you need, while also optimizing for potentially helping you reverse diabetes as well. It's the same with other lifestyle diseases like hypertension and obesity. We have meals for that as well. If you are someone who's watching this video and saying, okay, I don't have diabetes, but I have a family history of diabetes, but I want to prevent it, we have balanced meals that will help you prevent and reduce your risk of many of these lifestyle diseases. So head over to Sampurna Ahara and have a look at our meals. We have several options for you to choose from, and we also have special meals almost every Sunday and for festive occasions, just to spice things up a little bit. Yes, I hope that these resources help you. If you're someone who wants to learn more about how to prevent, manage, and potentially even reverse diabetes, you can head over to nutritionscience.in. We have courses that will help you understand the role of nutrition in lifestyle diseases like diabetes. We have a free course with over 200 whole food plant-based recipe, plant-based diet kickstart. So you can have a look at it. You can sign up for it. It's free. You can try out these recipes at home and start the process of getting healthier right from the comfort of your home. We also have the plant-based diet masterclass, which is an intensive program where you learn the root causes of these lifestyle diseases and are part of our community. So, we will help you reach your health goals one step at a time. So you can look at that as well. If any of you are diabetic, we strongly suggest that you work with a lifestyle physician and make changes under their guidance. Dr. Achyuthan is available for consultations. You can book it online on sampurnahara.com as well. And he can look at your individual records, individual case history, and guide you effectively. We do not recommend that you start or stop any medication without the guidance of your physician. And please note that anything that we've said in this video is not substitute for medical advice by your physician. So yes, I think with that we come to the end of today's video. Thank you so much everyone for joining us and listening to us. If you have any other myths that you've heard, or if you're not sure if something that you've heard is a myth or a fact, please leave it in the comments and we'll be happy to answer it, or maybe even make a part 2 of this video with more myths out there. Thank you so much for answering these questions and for clarifying what the actual facts are when it comes to diabetes. Yes, I think with that, we will say goodbye and we will see you in our next video.
Thanks again for joining us. Be blessed.